Anthony Cumia Show, right there. You're lucky enough to get in. Oh, don't worry. Everyone will make it in eventually. Hi. Happy Easter special here that we're running. The free broadcast today. Hope you enjoy it. Of course, the pressing issue on everyone's mind. What ship am I using on EVE Online? Well, I'm using the Navy Raven. What? No, that wasn't okay. Phones are opened for this entire show. Of course, a lot of people with a lot of questions about what's going on with Opie and Anthony. The Opie and Anthony Show, juggernauts of broadcasting for just about 20 years. That ended last July. I then put this together with the assistance of some very smart, talented, creative, motivated people. And now we're doing this. Opie is doing a show with Jim Norton over at SiriusXM Satellite Radio. There have been little jabs taken back and forth since July. A lot of speculation, a lot of finger pointing, blame, innuendo, rumor, whatever you want to call it. I call it horse shit in some senses of the word. I don't like when things are said about me that are not true. God, where to start? I guess over this weekend, we heard this other thing that was going to be going on with Opie and Anthony. The split show. Opie had brought up that he saw this Opie and Anthony thing coming to an end. He saw the end was near and had some ideas as to how to keep the brand alive and keep this thing going in some capacity with everybody involved. And one of the ideas was splitting the show. I gotta tell you, in all honesty, I've never heard of this. This was never discussed. It makes no sense. What is Jimmy supposed to be there for 15 hours a day, perhaps, to do a morning show and then an afternoon show? I don't know. But that was never brought up to me, as were a lot of things were not brought up to me. I heard from Opie many times since I've been fired on his show, on posts, Facebook or Twitter or what have you, that the end was near. It was obvious the end was near. We hadn't spoken off the air for 10 years. I heard that one too. And I won't argue the point that, boy, we really weren't talking very much. But that doesn't in any way take away from what was going out on the air. The show was working. It was still good. It wasn't the end of the fucking... I've worked with people that I didn't have discussions with over the years and did very well. You don't necessarily need a let's hang out on the phone and chit-chat relationship when you work with somebody. The show was working. We came in. We talked about, a few of the issues of the day, and then we'd throw the mics on, and what happened, and people seem to have liked it over the years. Just because we weren't palling around doesn't mean that the show didn't work or that anyone was ready to move on. And he has said since I got fired that he knows that I wanted to move on. This is absolutely untrue. I wasn't going anywhere. I was the guy that would have signed a 5-year deal. It's an easy job. You go in, you make some jokes, you talk about shit with your friends, and you go home after a ridiculously short amount of time. and then you make a ridiculous amount of money. That's the job. How could anyone find something bad in that? If the phones break for a day, who gives a shit? It's still the greatest job you're ever going to have, even with broken phones. I just never understood the cloud of doom that was in the studio a lot. I gotta say, everyone else on staff was really kind of pleasant, understanding that this is a dream job. And sometimes there were certain situations that were not pleasant to be around. I got to be honest. And Opie is the kind of guy that his mood will dictate the room. It will put a mood over the room. If E-Rock was in a bad mood, who gave a shit? We'd call him out on it. Jimmy's in a bad mood. It would rile things for a second, but then Jimmy would make a joke about it or something. It always seemed if Opie had a problem, it would permeate the studio and permeate the mood in the studio and make it rather difficult to transition back into having fun and having a good time and doing radio, doing the radio that we wanted to do. So when I hear things like I was ready to move on, and he could tell that the end was near, and not a hint. I was never ready to move on. And every contract negotiation, I wrote about this on Twitter, every contract negotiation reached a point where everyone was waiting to see what Opie would do. And look, I'm not going to sit here and go, hey, everyone's contract negotiation tactic should be this, that, or the other thing. If that's what he felt was a good negotiating tactic, fine. But maybe an explanation to everyone else, like the staff and his coworkers and things like that, might have been nice because we sat there in the dark. And after hearing throughout the entire tenure of a contract how he's not signing unless big things change, fuck this place, I'll do something else, I'll move on, I don't need this shit anymore, like all that, it tends to get in your head when the guy that you're working with has that mindset that he's leaving. Fuck this, fuck that, fuck that. So we were under the impression, and I mean the whole staff, that at some point he was bailing. He was bailing out. And when I got fired in July, I absolutely assumed that that was it for the O&A or O&J or O show, whatever. I thought he was done with that and might, as he said in the past, move on to something else, which is fine. But it didn't happen that way. And I really don't want to sound like the old sour grapes, because that isn't what this is about. It's about misconceptions about me on the show. I don't like when I read stuff that isn't true at all. I never wanted to leave the show. I was having a great time. This wasn't a purposeful thing. I would have stuck it out there. Like I said, dream job. Who the fuck doesn't want that? The other thing is management over there. Management and the on-air combat. They're just bumping heads constantly. I don't have a clue what was said to management by anyone on air. Opie or Jimmy, but I will always give Jimmy the benefit of the doubt because he doesn't have the juice over there that Opie has. He didn't have the juice that I had over there, and I got fired. So, I understand Jimmy tiptoeing around, and he can't take the lead on saying where the show will or won't go with or without me on it. So I just don't know if anything was said down the hall that would have made an impact to get me back. Because I truly believe that Opie did want to move on. and that was a good opportunity. So I don't know. I've heard many times when people say, hey, what the fuck? What'd you do? Did you go in there? Did you say something? He goes, look, you guys don't know, but I fought behind the scenes. And then people go, well, what'd you do? How'd you do it? I don't know. I don't know. And the onus is always on me to make a phone call, I guess. I don't know why I'm the one that always has to make the phone call. I've read so many tweets over this weekend since this whole thing started. Hey, Anthony, why don't one of you guys just pick up the phone and sort it out? This isn't a pick up the phone and sort it out thing. This isn't something that just popped up over the weekend. This is years in the making. And I don't understand. For how much I haven't picked up the phone, he hasn't either. And I think there were a lot more opportunities where the guy that still has the gig should call the guy that got fired. You know? I mean, I've sent the ghoul, Bob Eatman, a liaison over there to SiriusXM to see what the deal was, what was going on. And believe me, I'm persona non grata. Not welcome. You see this? It means not welcome. I'll cut off your Shylock nose. I'm not welcome. It's not up to me. The ball was never in my court, as it were. So I don't know what happened, but I have said, and I have tweeted this. I know for fuck well that goddamn management machine that's in place over there knows shit about what's good or bad or indifferent on their airwaves. They know widgets. They know to hire a celebrity du jour and give them a fucking channel for a year or so. That gets nobody listening. What they don't know is what's good on the air. And the Opie and Anthony show was good on the air. Very good. So I know that if the situation had been reversed, I'd have fought tooth and nail with the fuckers that were constantly undermining the program. I wouldn't have done any less than threatened to have left. Would I have? I don't know. But I at least would have played that card. I at least would have made it loud and public, like the English Top Gear guys did. Got a lot of press for it. A lot of things. Just would have been a good move. Would have looked good. It would have saved Opie, I think, a lot of grief that he's been getting from fans over these past few months. It would have at least looked good. And it might have actually done something. But I honestly, looking at the byproduct of what happened and looking at what he says on the air and tweets and everything else, I don't think that ever happened. I don't think the gauntlet was ever laid down. I don't think a very strong argument was made to keep me on the show. And if that's what he wanted, fine. But don't bullshit and say that, that was the big fucking push I made. Because I frankly don't see it. And to say management is very happy with the direction of the show now is ludicrous. If Opie doesn't believe that people have listened to the show over the years and heard everyone on air rail about how much the management knows nothing about radio, knows nothing about what makes good radio. Over the years, this has been a fucking battle cry of the Opie and Anthony show. To then say management is happy with the show tells me one thing. If it's true, that the show fucking sucks. Who wants that management team to like the show? Christ almighty. God, please. They like Jenny Hutt. Kidding, Jenny. I like Jenny. She's very cute. But it's all of these hypocrisies and these confusing little signals that are being put out there. I want nothing more than to just let people know what the fuck the deal is. And, they could deal with it themselves. I don't want to get on the phone with Opie and have some kind of a 1950s Doris Day fucking split screen conversation from our bed with our slippered foot up in the air back and forth as we discuss things. Ain't gonna happen. I don't want to sit and have a beer with him and discuss something. What? Why? And it's not a radio bit to put it on the air. It's just an honest airing. I think we owe it to the people that made us successful to not go behind some closed door because we have a fear of what? Airing our dirty laundry? We've done it for years. We've aired the fucking dirty laundry of other people, ourselves, everything. So, you know, what are you afraid of, Senator? What is that? Ace Rothstein. I'm here. What are you afraid of, Senator? Come on my show. What the hell is he doing? He's juggling? Let me juggle. Oh, Christ almighty. It just, I guess it got very tense with the Opie and Anthony show at NEW. But that was that at least had some type of reason, if you could believe it or not. Me and Opie and our respective girlfriends / wife, my wife at the time, were very good friends. We used to go out in Huntington all the time. I barely remember having dinner alone back then. It was usually with Opie and Sandy and me and Jennifer. And it was, you know, it was great. It was a lot of fun. Very, very new, back in New York after the Boston debacle and shit like that. And it was very exciting, new, and a bright broadcasting future in the #1 market and back home again. It was fucking thrilling. I think it's the only reason I stayed married for so fucking long after that because, you know, it was kind of a distraction. When the marriage ended and I hooked up with Melinda, and, you know, he could say what he wants. There was a problem there. He had a problem with my girlfriend. We had a great foursome relationship between me, him, his girlfriend, and my wife at the time. And I think busting that up, there was resentment. His girlfriend still was friends with my ex-wife, which, you know, put him in a weird position. I get that. But the way my girlfriend was then treated was abominable. I mean, like a second-class citizen, piece of shit. And it was directly disrespectful to me at that time. And I wasn't going to have it. But I took it for the preservation of the show. And you'll notice this is a thing that weaves its way through this story until July of last year. Not rocking the boat. Not fucking saying anything. As they call it on Reddit, I don't know who brought this up or made it up, but it is one of the most brilliant things I've ever heard. Walking on Greggshells. This is a common denominator that you will see and hear about for our entire tenure at the Opie and Anthony show. So I knew my girlfriend was being disrespected. I didn't go after him balls out because I knew that would have caused a problem with the show. Which makes you hate yourself. This is another common factor with the show. There's nothing worse than you feeling impotent and feeling like you are compromising and being shit on, but you can't do anything about it. Something's being held over your head that you dare not say anything. This is also a common factor. And you could, you know, call me a pussy, a faggot, a wimp, whatever. And I will agree. And that's why this, you wind up hating yourself for not saying something. But the preservation of the show is number one. And I honestly think that the only reason we lasted 20 years was the amount of times I kept my mouth shut in certain situations. I honestly do. Because as you have seen and heard on certain programs, Opie is not one of the best at taking criticism or even jokes on a comedy show. I've been there. I've sat there and watched Bob Kelly be decimated on the program, and then throw one joke out about Opie's shirt, and it becomes a real issue. Otto, the late brilliant Otto, was in and said something about the show when I'm not there, when Anthony's not there. And, he lost his shit. And everyone had to say, it's a fucking joke. That's what I don't understand what he was seeing when all these comics are beating the living shit out of each other. And then one, a little collateral damage heads his way and all bets are off. You're now the asshole. And that, again, will get into your mind and make you think, I best just shut up. Greggshells. It's very difficult to work and be honest and feel relaxed in an atmosphere like that when you know that someone is going to fly off the handle. I don't think two people ripped each other apart more than me and Jim Norton. And the only thing better than getting Jimmy with a good fucking jab is him coming right back and getting you. There was nothing funnier than watching somebody that fast and funny decimate you. And I never understood why it was always taken so personally. Jim Norton, back in the early NEW days, was the first guy to really call out either myself or Opie on pronunciation errors, spelling errors, fucking whatever it is. And Jimmy would make them too, and but it was this weird vibe that we always felt like, if Opie made a mistake, put your head down and don't mention it. Like, it's very hard to just go, hey, dummy, it's fucking this, without catching some shit. And I'm not talking about every day. I'm going to try to be as honest and open here. There were plenty of instances where, Opie was sitting there and getting caught up in the fray, and he was fine with it. And that was great. But it was that weird, you don't know which way it's going, the uncertainty of it that really used to get people. And, you didn't know which way it was going to go. So I didn't want to say anything early in that whole thing with me and my girlfriend. And that started building the whole thing. That's really where it started crumbling a bit as far as our off-air relationship went. On air, amazing. Some great shit. I'll never say the O&A show wasn't good because of anybody. It was fucking great. It did very well, very successful. But then the tensions behind the scenes started building up. A lot of people that left the show start bad-mouthing Opie. It just would happen. And Opie would sit there dumbfounded, like, why is, Ben Sparks is this, and he's doing this and saying this to me. Psycho Mark did this. Steve C said this and did this. Rick Delgado, that it was just everybody that left started bashing him. And I feel weird being put in this position. Like I'm the latest in this line of people that have had a problem over the years. But people have had a problem over the years. And there's this underlying superiority that needs to be put in place when Opie's involved in something. It's me and Jimmy heard it all the time, and believe me, I'm not implicating Jimmy in any of this. Jimmy has nothing to do with what I'm saying and what I'm doing here today. Believe me, but Opie has told me and Jimmy, I've been in the room when it's happened, when certain instances come up and we've had a little tiff or something like that, where Opie's like, look, I'm not your fucking boss. I'm not your boss. When you know, his opinion would hold more weight than anyone else's. He wasn't our boss, but there was a feeling in the room that you better listen to what he says or the show is going to suck for at least that day, maybe even that week. You know, maybe that week there'd be no eye contact because you said something or did something. I hated that. It was bad enough with management. We didn't need anyone in the studio giving us grief, looking at us sideways, not looking at us at all. It put a pissed mist over the whole fucking studio. And it was not a fun environment to be in. Again, this wasn't every day, and it wasn't, maybe it was an even split. I don't know. But there always seemed to be a problem. And that problem was never the problem. It was how much he got pissed off at the problem. The phones are broke. Mars, the phones are broke. Let's see if we can fix them next break. We just won't take a call. And then maybe you could come in and I love Mars, but when he used to come in, the phones are broke. Well, it was very funny. But then, you know, to throw the phones, one time hitting Jimmy with the phones, and then be like, you know, this place, and it was like, now you've escalated the problem. We could do the show without the phones, but now we can't really do the show with you in that mood. And that permeated the whole thing. So, this obviously shit like this would carry over off the air. I didn't want to be part of that. I didn't want to be part of that off air. I could deal with it on air. You hear me. You hear me deal with it on air. There's no shortage of clips of me dealing with Opie in a bad mood on the air and trying my damnedest to avoid those rocks and get back on fucking track. It would just happen. But that kind of carried over. I didn't want to do the hangout afterwards. And our lives were changing. Very much so. The married, having kids and everything. And fucking God bless him. I'm not even kidding here. I'm not fronting, as you kids sometimes say. I honestly wish him the best like that. It's great. That's what he wanted. A fruitful life, wife, kids. You got it. I never understood why so angry all the time. Why so angry? I yelled a lot. I yell a lot on the show. But if you listen to those, it's usually followed up with me laughing at myself for getting so mad at nothing. Or Jimmy would turn around and go, what are you yelling about? And I'm like, I don't know. And it was fun. It was like self-deprecation, I think, was such an important part of the Opie and Anthony show. And getting mad, everyone gets mad, but you instantly have to look at where you are and assess it and think to yourself, this really does come off as being petty and stupid if I'm actually mad at this while I have a dream job. You know, 7 fucking figures to sit there for 4 hours a day. You can't ask for more than that. Even if you were getting dicked in the ass for that kind of money, it would still rule. We're making jokes. We're hanging out with comics and actors. And so what? The phones are broke. So again, this is just more of the building rolling snowball that became this, the gorilla in the room, the thing that made it so we didn't communicate that much. And I am in no way exonerating myself or saying that I didn't contribute to the tension. Again, disliking yourself for your lack of initiative during a dispute. Gritting your teeth with an apology when you know you weren't wrong. Oh, you married dudes know what I'm talking about. You appease the wife by apologizing, and then you go in the room and fucking can't even look in the mirror. That is what you get when you're in a 20-year partnership in business in any way, you know. And for those that say, you know, why don't you two call each other? Why don't you do that? Look, we're both in our fucking 50s. And we had a business partnership together. Just because we weren't sharing warm showers doesn't mean we can't fucking run the business. You know? I'm sure Ben and Jerry had some fucking issues. Fuck you and your shitty ice cream flavor. Fuck you. I'm putting nuts in it. Put your nuts in it. Go fuck you. Shit like that. Sure, it happened. You think Simon and Garfunkel were all smiles on that stage in Central Park years ago? That packed park? Oh, I am just a poor boy, though my story's seldom dick. I have squandered for a pocket full of mumbles. This motherfucker, I can't stand this prick. Sure, it happened. It just happens. But there's no need to feel like you got to pull the plug or not go to bat for the business. So we work up through NEW. We get fired from there. And then we end up at Sirius XM Satellite Radio. Jim Norton's aboard by the NEW point. But now we're the three of us going into this new venture together and everything. And it was, again, very renewed, very exciting. You know, we were back from the dead, and that was very cool. But again, the ham-handedness of Opie a lot of times would cause this resentment and detriment. I found over the years that Opie has a very hard time dealing with people, just being a people person. There are basic things that I think most people know to do and not to do, and to have a good working relationship. I literally had to tell Opie once, and again, the Greggshells walk, I had to go like, oh, come here, man. I understand, you know, stuff, and I know they're interns and stuff, and but people don't like being snapped at. I had to say this. Because he'd be like this, like, yeah, we... And then an intern would come running. It's like, people don't like being snapped. Like, that to me is something you should just know. There's a self-awareness you need. And I would see these things, and I'd be flabbergasted a lot of times. I just never knew where that came from. But that is that mindset there. And if it was hey, I just care so much about the show that I don't care about, you know, what people are feeling in this, I need to get this show. If that was the case, fine. But especially when we got over to Sirius, not so much the XM portion, because that was a whole different animal. But when we were doing the K-Rock thing and the Sirius thing, after the K-Rock thing, the XM K-Rock thing, and then over to Sirius, we all just fucking dropped the ball. I'll be honest. There was barely any show preparation going on, if any. There was nothing going on. I mean, you'd get the usual sheets from the staff, which were great. They'd have, you know, things that were in the news and sound clips and stuff like that, which were great. But we never did any real prep. My prep was listening to 1010 Wins on the way in. And if a story, you know, struck my fancy, I'd talk about it. I think as far as winging it, we were probably the best in the business. But with just a tad bit of preparation, it could have been better. And if that motivation and that lack of, I honestly, lack of respect for other people on the staff was just due to like, well, you know, at least he's putting his all into it, then I really wouldn't have an argument here. It's like, that's how people handled it. Imagine Louis C.K. with everything he's doing, that hands-on approach he has with his show, and a staff member going, wow, Louis is really a prick on set or here. You'd say, look what he's doing. How about looking at the credits of his show? It's his name, half the fucking names. The hell is he doing? He's there with a flute doing the music. But, you know, we all got very lazy on the Opie and Anthony show. One thing I didn't realize until I was booted out the door and had to do this program, and it's all based on what I look at and read through, and the staff comes up with, and we look at it beforehand, come up with a bit or a storyline upstairs or something. That's kind of when I realized, wow, I really did just kind of fall into this complacency over at the O&A show. We all did, as I say. So there was really no reason for that just abuse. I don't know how involved Keith wants to get in this, but Keith had a short tenure as the Club Soda Kenny for Opie. Now, this isn't just to fucking shit on Opie. Believe it or not, this isn't a let's shit on Opie thing. I want to try to convey to the people what was going on behind the scenes of the show like this. And the only way to do it is really get in there and realize the personality that we were dealing with and how much conflict can be made just from a personality glitch. Then that has nothing to do with calling up the person on the phone. It's just an innate personality. His, mine, other people on the staff that just, they're a little combative with each other. That's all I'm trying to say. So Keith, at some point, what year was that about, Keith?
What are we talking about? Which incident?
It's when you had to, pretty much be the Club Soda Kenny.
Well, I filled in for Club Soda Kenny a lot after when we got to the serious thing, when Kenny retired from his job, and then I would fill in. And it was, look.
Tense.
It was tense. And I think the worst out of all of it was the time when there was a snowstorm. And I was driving up the Wantor Parkway, and something hit something in the road. My check engine light came on. So I text you. I stopped. I picked you up in the truck. I said, do you mind if I go with you? And That was the time we were supposed to go and pick. I was supposed to pick up Opie in the morning because that was Kenny's job.
Yeah.
And I texted him to tell him I was going to be there. I was coming in with you. And then we pulled up in front of the studio, and that was at K-Rock.
Mm-hmm.
And he was getting out of a cab. And I still had plenty of time to go get him. And I said, hey, I was just coming to get you. And he's like, what am I even paying you for? What are you doing here? And I stood there and I was like, he's like, why don't you just go home?
He was going to send you home.
And I looked at him. I'm like, what? And that was it. I mean, at that time I was a sergeant in the police department. I called Kenny and I told him, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to be treated like this.
Yeah.
Because I said, look, I reached out to you, and he goes, no, you didn't. And that was the time we used BlackBerry Messenger, and you saw that it was red. And I said, I let you know I was coming, and he just chose to treat me like shit, and I wasn't going to deal with it anymore. I didn't feel that after so much that I felt I contributed to the show from 1999 with everything we did, that it wasn't right to be treated that way. And
there wouldn't have been any homeless shopping spree or mustard. You brought mustard in. Oh my God. I'm a crap. Like stuff like that. There has to be a self-awareness that people have, like, wow, let me try to see how people are seeing me. And let me try to figure out why everyone that I have worked with in the past always shit talks me in some capacity. afterwards. That maybe there isn't this weird cosmic connection between all of the people that have left and said some shitty things. Maybe look in the old mirror, as they say. And I'm not innocent in all of this. I know that. I pulled some shenanigans over the years that had pissed people off. I know that. But there's just not this constant running theme of being disrespectful and angry and nasty to people that you work with. And again, this is something I didn't want to deal with outside of work. So there was no socializing. Why? Opie said over the past couple of weeks, well, we barely talked in 10 years of doing the O&A show. Well, explain why. Explain why we haven't spoken. Don't just throw shit out there like that. Don't just throw shit out there like, I fought for Anthony. Tell how you did it. This would help you. This would help you from the haters that are out there hating. And you know what I hear? The hater's going to hate. The player's going to play. You know what you should do? Shake it off. You just have to do a little, self-assessment and see what is pissing people off. And that did it. That was really it was very difficult to communicate with somebody that was just, man, I don't know what it is. I don't know. A lifestyle, the money, I know there was like an ambition to be bigger. And that, I'll be honest, that carried over with me also. We had a great run at NEW. I think the pinnacle of our careers were when we were syndicated around the country and over on NEW. It was FM radio. And, that was huge. It was huge. And I think there was a lot of self-doubt after we got fired and had to reboot on satellite radio. At that time, satellite radio was for rejects and any celebrities they would give a channel to. And we were damaged goods, and that's how we ended up over there. So it was very humbling at that point. But some people just refuse to be humble. And, at that point, you really got to look and not blurt shit out like we're the best. And, sometimes you just got to take a breath and go, wow, we got to rebuild this and really, appreciate the fan base. And listen to them sometimes. Cater to some of the concerns of the fan base. Some of you people are just fucking assholes. Believe me, I know that. But some have good ideas. Sometimes you get caught up in where you are and what you're doing, and you lose track of what people initially liked you for and enjoyed listening to you for. And you lose that, and you lose your fan base. And, I never wanted to do that. I honestly do enjoy going out and doing things. And I liked those bar appearances and hanging out with people. It was a lot of fun. And I do blame SiriusXM for a lot of that because they just stopped letting us do things. They figured as long as we were just shoved in a fucking closet studio somewhere, we would do the show. And they wouldn't have to deal with sales or other people or getting the equipment or going out there. So, that became a problem. That made a lot of tension between the air staff. I just relegated myself to the belief that that's what it was going to be. And I was fine with it. I liked being in there on a daily basis, joking around and having guests come in and doing interviews and shit like that. I kind of knew that was happening, and you could only make the best of what you have to work with instead of just being miserable about it and we don't have this, we don't have that. We have this. Let's work on it. Let's just do that. Again, the broken phone syndrome. The phone was fucking great. I miss Mars.
He's going to do the phones in the new studio.
Yes, very good. We'll have our new studio in New York City coming up this summer. And yeah, we'll get Mars to do the phones. Anthony, So, again, the resentment, that feeling that there's just doom and gloom. It's like a living anxiety attack is waiting there for you. I drive in the morning and just like lose my mind with getting like that whoosh, acidy, whooshy adrenaline feeling driving in, wondering if it's going to be, one of those days or one of those days. And I got to just thank God for Jimmy Norton. Opie said, like, oh, if it wasn't for Jimmy, the show would have broken up. Probably not, because if you've noticed, one of my greatest talents over 20 years wasn't my Ronald Reagan impression. But Jimmy definitely gave that buffer to in between me and Opie when it was one of those days where we were having an issue, or if Opie was having an issue with Jimmy or something, there would be a buffer day like that. But I didn't feel like I was going to leave the show. So to hear that, I get it kind of pisses me off. How it gets to this point, I don't know. Little shots had been taken over the past few months. I would have liked to have believed early on that there was kind of a fight to get me back and stuff. But when I started realizing and thinking realistically and looking at the forensic evidence, I don't think there was much of a fight. And if there was, I would like to hear what it was. And I would like to hear, and I've heard some stuff from certain people that peruse the hallways of SiriusXM. So it's not like I'm completely speculating. And I never heard word one about how I was battled for. If the Opie and Anthony brand was so important as to keep it alive by putting old clips up, then it was important enough to keep alive in every sense of the word by going into Scott Greenstein and raising some holy hell, getting press for it, regardless of the outcome. It might have worked out the same exact way. You and Jimmy over there, me over here, but at least the fans would have gone like, wow, Opie fucking, went to bat at least. Opie is being shit on by the fans, not because of anything I've said or done. You got to take some personal responsibility. I've gotten shit on in the past by the fans. I realize it. I see it. And again, some of them are just assholes, but some have viable reasonings for giving you shit. So now we're here, which is Opie and Jimmy are doing a show over there, which management is very happy with, I hear. And I do the show from here, which I am very happy with. I enjoy doing this. It's fun. I don't get an upset tummy walking down the stairs coming to do this. There's a lot going on in the future of this program, things in the works. So will me and Opie at some point even speak on the air? Well, he tweeted something out over the weekend that said, we'll grab a beer. I'm not going to do a radio bit of, going on your show or anything. I'll go on his show if, Sirius allows me in the fucking building after putting the wanted poster of me up. But, and it's not a bit. What do you think? 20 odd years of doing radio with you, and I want to do a bit? If there's anybody that has teased a thing over the years and made bits out of things, it wasn't me. I just want to have an open discussion that the fans would be privy to. Because I think hashing things out first and then talking gives an element of you're hiding something or trying to deal with something before you talk about it. I'm not ashamed or embarrassed of anything. And I would gladly sit and talk about anything that Opie would want to talk about like that. But I don't see a reason to grab a beer. What? So we can, because I'll tell you one thing. On air, it would be very difficult for either of us to get away with pulling bullshit when the eyes and ears of everybody that was a fan of the show are on you and me. It's very easy to pull the, Ant, whatever. I don't want to sit with that. I don't want to sit in that atmosphere, in that mood. I've done it too many times. I don't want to do it. And on air, you can't get away with that shit. They will fucking kill you. They're piranha, and they will kill you. So I'm not open to sitting in private and having a little fucking discussion like I did trying to settle my divorce. But I want to, open it up. We've done radio. Why wouldn't this be on the radio? Why wouldn't it be? So, your show, my show, I don't care. Both shows via Skype. I don't give a shit. But, you got to open it up to the people. It's the only way it's going to keep it honest as a discussion. Or you don't want to, which, again, is fine with me, too. I don't really have a horse in the race anymore as far as the Opie and Anthony show goes. It was great. It was a great fucking show for many years, but I don't know. I love the people over there were great. That's another thing I wanted to bring up, the basic contract negotiations, because a few tweets were sent across the field of fire concerning that. I never encountered more stress than when Bob Eatman, our agent, would call and say, well, I'm going to start talking to Sirius. First of all, it was probably 3 hours before the contract was up that he would decide it was time to start talking to the fucking company. He would start negotiating, and I would get anxiety because I knew where this was going every fucking time. Fuck them. I'm not signing. Oh, okay. All right. 7 digits. Fucking that. We got more vacation time. We do that. Still not signing. No, fuck that. I want Fridays off. I want more money. I want this. I want that. Just say it. You want what Howard wanted. Let's just be open here. That contract, there was one time, and I'm not exaggerating. There was one time Sirius said, if that contract isn't signed, and I had signed mine already. Mine was fucking done. But, mine was no good without his signature. If that contract isn't signed by 6 on Monday morning, the deal's off the table. And there was no other deal. We were still fucking the, church fuckers, as far as they're concerned. And he signed at 5:59. And that's not a move that's going to, management isn't sitting there going, wow, that guy. Wow, what a set of balls on him. God, he's amazing. No. They just probably went, look, he signed. Whatever.
Did you get more money because he waited till 5:59?
No. You know what we got? Aggravation. The O&A show isn't just and wasn't just O&A or even Jimmy. It's a bunch of fucking people depending on that. Now, you could have reasons for wanting to leave and do things, and that's, unfortunately, it's your own life. And even though people depend on you, there are instances where you have to live your own life and leave, and it's tragic and sad and whatever. That happens. But this wasn't one of those cases. This was a case of holding something, whether conscious of it or not. And I can't imagine how someone cannot be conscious that they are taking the people that they work with and putting them through a nervous hell. You can't have guys that are married and have kids, jobs on 0 hour, wondering if they have a job in the next minute. You can't do that. It's mean. And it's something people would only do to hold something over other people's heads. When you have family men that are depending on their job, you can't give them 1 minute's notice that they might not work. It's. But again, there's none of that self-awareness. That kind of shit makes people mad. That kind of shit gets people yapping behind the scenes and angry. I can't imagine someone not being aware that those actions are fucking with people's heads.
I want to say, though, when you did come home, if
Yeah.
I was here taking care of stuff, you never showed it when you came home.
Wow. It was every contract. What the fuck is he doing? He's going to blow this deal for us. It was constant. I wanted long deals. He wanted short deals. I knew this was a great gig. I knew no one's banging our door down to give us other jobs as far as radio jobs went and shit like that. And no, they weren't offering us a 5-year deal at the same fucking salary for 5 years. Some of the contracts were backloaded where you'd have the same salary for 2 years and then it would go up the 3rd year. But the 4th and 5th year with like the big raises, they would be loaded like that. They call them backloaded contracts. And I was fine with that, knowing I would be there. Why sign something for 2 years with an inconsequential little raise, hoping that in the 3rd year, you're gambling, hoping that in the 3rd year, someone comes to have a bidding war with you? Because if they're not, they're going to fuck you on year 3, just like they did on 1 and 2. Lock in for 5. And if something happens, you could sue the shit out of them for the rest of your deal. It's a contract. That's how it works. But this, again, what does everyone want? I'll do the other thing. And that was every single contract negotiation. I want Fridays off. I don't care about Fridays off. You know what? You tell them you want Fridays off. You know what they're going to do? They're going to tack something else on or take something else away. Vacation time, money, whatever it is. I didn't mind 5 days a week. Believe me. Once I started doing this, fuck you, I'm taking Friday. But I didn't mind 5 days a week. I would have, I was going in there 5 days a week. That was the job. So that didn't matter to me much, but it was a deal breaker. Oh, well, if I don't get Fridays, fuck them. I'm gone. I'll do something else. That was always what I heard. I'll just go and do something else. Oh, really? What about these guys? What about fucking the staff and that? And, are they going to do something else too? Are they going to go on vacation with some of that money that everyone contributed to making and, hang out? I'm sure Travis can just fucking hang out on those millions he made over the past 20-something years and, we'll just do something else. Lack of awareness, lack of fucking being self-aware was one of the most frustrating things. And I'll tell you right off the bat what the only problem Opie had with me was that occasionally I would come in with a bit of a headache. All right. I did understand. Those hangover shows were probably not the greatest things, but I gave it my all. Our foibles, our crosses to bear, what have you. But, the personality clashes were some of the worst things. The fights that we had, the on-air ones that you people had the pleasure of eavesdropping in on, the ones you never heard, always biting the lip and just wanting to put the show back together and let's get back on track. You may remember an episode from F.H. Riley's. We were all hanging out. It was busy. I tweeted something to the effect of, holy shit, I can't get a seat. I'm waiting here for a beer. Like, just kind of trashing the staff there. And it was, believe me, it was tongue in cheek. I'm not sitting there shitting on his restaurant. But, oh my God, did he fucking unload. He unloaded on me, decided he wasn't going to show up for work. 3 days, he just didn't show up for work. Didn't answer the boss's phone calls, didn't do anything. I was dragged into Scott Greenstein's office and told, you best fix this. If he's not back on the air, you're in trouble. What the fuck? I'm the one that's here. I'm doing the show. But that's the kind of that Greggshells walk. Even management knew to do it. Can't tell you how many meetings I was in with management, phone calls with management that dealt with, and I'm sure Opie had a lot of phone calls with management about me. I'm not fucking, don't even try to think that I'm not saying he spent a lot of time with management on the phone about me. I understand that. But if he wants to go off about that, he's got a show. But they all knew, well, you know, all right, how do we handle this? Have you talked to Greg about that? No, not yet. Oh, we got to call him. And it was always this, oh, boy, kind of a thing. There's no way to run a fucking business, go through life. Jesus. It was awful. Should we take some calls? People want to know things. Here it is. Boink. Hi, this is Alex in Indiana. How you doing, you queer hater?
I knew you were going to bring that up.
Of course. Go get you some no queer pizza. Could I have a pie? No queer. Hold the queers.
Yeah, that made our state look real good.
What's up?
Well, I guess, you know, I just have, you kind of answered my question, but I guess you could clear it up just a little bit. I mean, I think everybody here has worked with people they've had issues with,
Sure.
but I guess my biggest question is, I get that you weren't hanging out off the show, off the air, having a beer every other night, but I guess I just don't understand, with millions on the line, why you're not talking more with Mr. Hughes about your contract situation. And I guess from what I'm understanding, what you said the past hour, first of all, I'm going to go on record as anybody who refers to themselves as a businessman regularly is an ass, because I own my own business, and I know a lot of people who do, but we never refer to ourselves as businessmen.
Dude,
that's just kind of something.
You sell weed. Relax. Relax, businessman. You're drunk.
I happen to own a very famous pizza joint here in Indiana. No,
do you? And I'm taking a long vacation with this $8,500,000. Very good.
All right. Well, yeah, that's my question. So I'll hang up and listen.
All right. Thank you, sir. Why didn't we discuss contracts more? I think the last contract we really discussed that we were very into and stuff was the first real big NEW deal. I remember being in a hotel room. It was Bob Eatman, the ghoul himself. He actually opened the window and stuck his head out, and people thought it was a new gargoyle on the outside of the hotel. Thought Bob was a decoration. So that was very exciting. It was big. The numbers we were hearing were unbelievable. It was one of those, like, is this really happening kind of a thing. It was very exciting. A lot of fun. After that, subsequent things, and after the firing and then the negotiations with XM, it was barely negotiations is what it was. They know they don't have to negotiate if there's no other horse in the race, if I may say that a third time. So I got copies of the deal. He got copies of the deal. And Bob got copies. And it's like, okay, we're going to make changes. And we'd have phone calls. We'd have like conference calls, the three of us. And it's like, okay, we're going to change this paragraph 2 and section 5. And we're going to do that. And we'll ask for this and stuff. So there was a communication with the agent going on about that. But he was never happy with the deal and always trying to get more, which is fine unless you realize that that ain't gonna fucking happen. The deadline is hit. It's done. This is a take it or not take it thing. And if it is a tactic, if it is something, even if it's just to piss off management, then let everyone else know. Let everyone else know you are signing this deal, but you're doing it at 5:59, so that no one has to worry that if the rest of the day is going to be spent on the unemployment line. You know, it's things like that. So we did discuss the deal with our agent. We never really had any of these sit downs, and it was usually whenever we did have this impromptu conversation about the contract, it was always something negative. Like, oh, I want this, or, you know, we're not doing that, or I want, you know, it's not just, okay, here, we got this money, here's a raise, here's this, here's that. I don't know. Maybe I just was a lot easier to make happy on that goddamn contract. I have no idea. Let me see. Allison. Ooh, it was about Allison. How you doing, Allison?
Hi, Anthony.
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
It's been a crazy afternoon. I'm actually just curious, is the book deal off the table at this point?
A book deal?
Yeah, the book deal. You know, the one that Opie always talked about, the book deal.
I would love to write a book about these experiences. I think I could get a little more in-depth and, you know, maybe draw some pictures. Hand illustrated by Anthony Cumia.
But do you think that he's still on board for that?
I don't think we'd ever get a mutual book. There was one contract negotiation that was going on that I got so fucking pissed off at, because I'm sitting there like I have a good gig. I have a good job. It's great. And then 1 minute it's like, yeah, okay, we're signing. Bob would call me like, Anthony, I just talked to Opie. It looks pretty good. It looks like we're gonna sign this. And I'm like, oh, thank God, you know, get this fucking over with. And then Bob would be like, he'd call back a little later and go, all right, now he wants this. Fuck! I'm going crazy. So I kept saying I was gonna write a book, and I was angry at the time. So I told everybody that came to my house, I'm like, I'm gonna write a book, and it's gonna be called I Hate Greg Opie Hughes. And then a subtitle, no, really, I hate Greg. Like I would get so mad. And I didn't like being that angry without being able to laugh at how mad I was a few seconds later. So a book deal, perhaps. I think a combination of my exploits out in California and the radio. We'll figure something out. Thank you, though, Allison. Allison. It's all about Allison up until, you know, the model. The model with the kittens. Robin. Here we go. John from the great district that is Columbia. What's up?
Hey, Ann. How you doing?
Pert good.
First of all, just as an aside, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to work out your contract with somebody who has the brilliant logic of 5 years at the same salary with no raise, or get a raise every 2 years. I mean, do the math.
Yeah, I saw that. We never had a 5-year deal offered to us that didn't have increases in it. Like I said, they were backloaded, so you're getting most of the increases in the last 2 years. But it still works out better than them just holding you over a barrel every 2 fucking years. I could understand if 8 other companies are knocking your door down that you want to sign a short deal. But I also think Opie, after NEW, had a greatly inflated vision of the worth of the program at that point. Reality had to sink in at some point, and you had to realize perhaps our bestest days were there. We still have a great thing here, but we don't have a let's fucking argue or negotiate with Clear Channel and Infinity about going against Howard in the AM. That had sailed, and we made a fuckload of money based on that. that Clear Channel wanted us to go against Howard for mornings when we were at NEW, and Infinity had to come to the table and give us everything we asked for. The XM and Sirius deals, not so much. So you can't grandstand and get up there and want this, that, and the other thing in your contract. You got to be realistic about where you are in the world. And I think there was a greatly inflated case of self-worth there as far as the show went at that point. I was still very happy and very proud of what we were doing, but you had to look back at where we were and where we were now, and really just the perfect timing that was happening. It's very rare that happens. It's like winning lotto. The conditions, the companies pitting against each other, all those things fell into place to make us successful. That isn't going to last forever. And you can't go into a negotiation and ask for stuff based on a popularity you had years ago.
I agree. Well, I have two quick questions, if you'll indulge me. And they're pretty specific. So first of all, you were there at the time, so you can definitely address this. When Troy Kwan got in that fight on the air with what was his name, Mark Zito?
Yes.
And he said some pretty horrible things on the actual airwaves. And quite frankly, I kind of thought that he would get canned. And then Opie said that he did all this shit behind the scenes to get Troy's job saved. Did that actually happen or not?
Yes, it did. We both fielded phone calls after that happened. We liked Troy, thought he was very good for the show, talented, fun guy, fit in well with the show, and they absolutely were firing him. We went into Scott Greenstein's office to be told, well, he's being fired. And we unloaded on him and told him, no, that's not going to happen. You cannot take so many people away from the show. Even Danny Ross, who, me and him have had that falling out. But even then, and especially at the time, they were just knocking off whoever the fuck they wanted as far as our show went. And we didn't have a say in it. So when it came down to all right, well, we're firing Troy, it's like, you keep firing these people. You're not replacing them or giving us people to replace them with. You're not doing this. No, he's not fired. And if you think he is, we're fucking, we'll take a vacation. We'll fucking walk. We'll do whatever. We really put our asses on the line for Troy. And that's all I wanted to see as far as my fucking job is concerned, was half the effort he and I put forth to keep Troy Kwan on the fucking air. But he wanted Troy there, and I honestly believe he did not want me there anymore. So, yeah.
I think that's the only logical conclusion you can come to.
What other conclusion can I come to? That he went in there, guns blazing, fucking telling him that he's not going back on the air, and then comes back on the air and says how management loves the new show, and that we have 20,000 new subscribers since December? That's a blatant fuck you to me, by the way. That really started the tipping of me wanting to bring a few things up on this program, was when Opie said, management loves the show. Hey, we're doing great. 20,000 new subs since December. In other words, 20,000 people that didn't want to hear his shit. His meaning me. Like that, to me, was an insult.
Have you heard Esther Koo on the show? She's really good.
Maybe that's it.
One other question. So when all of this shit was going on with Opie waiting until the last minute, I know you don't want to tell any tales out of school necessarily, but if you're being honest, did any of, you don't have to name names, but did any of the support staff who weren't making very much money, like you said, did they ever come up to you and say, what the fuck is he doing, and how do we get rid of him, or what do we do about this?
There's a weird vibe in that place where it's like you don't know if anyone's listening. Like, that's how everyone addressed it. It's like, so are we sign?
Are we square?
Are we square? I got shot in the fucking face. You should see the other guy. Yeah, it was always this weird, again, Greggshells. I can't thank the person that came up with that wacky fucking thing, because it was constant. that everyone around contract time, they'd come to me. I would actually address some of the people on staff, like, because they would ask, hey, are we close? Are we doing this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm ready. I'm ready to sign. Fucking great gig. I don't know. And then, you know, yes, there's always this tension, this underlying tension that never belongs in an environment of guys hanging out, making fun jokes and shit like that. It shouldn't be there. I can't tell you the times where I would sit there and just be laughing my fucking ass off with Jimmy. It was gold to me. It was fucking the greatest feeling. And then like it would just stop. And you're like, oh, and then, you know, the phones. Oh God, I don't need this. Oh, this mic. And then you're just like this. It wasn't fucking fun.
Well, it all worked out in the end, period. So
exactly.
Have a good one, sir.
Thank you, my friend. There he is from the District of Columbia. Did Obi get... okay, let's go to this one here. Mike from Jersey. What's up, man?
Hey, buddy, what's up?
How's the Garden State treating you?
It sucks here. Don't try to own a firearm. It's as bad as New York. It's bad.
You don't own a firearm, or you do?
Oh, I do. I know exactly how bad it is. I got a whole bunch of them.
Was it a pain in the ass to get them? Jersey?
Yeah, you can only buy one every 30 days. You can't just go, get a license. You got to get a permit to purchase. Then you got to go back again. It's ridiculous.
I know.
It's terrible.
I hear it. My brother is in Pennsylvania. Over he's doing a gig over there. He went into a gun store and he's like, it's like fucking paradise over here. Just buy whatever you want. He's like, he had a couple of guns that he needed to get to buy and then have them sent to New York so they could be registered in New York. And in no time in Pennsylvania, you could just do that. It's no hassle, very gun friendly, very Second Amendment friendly state. What's your question about the subject at hand, my friend?
I listen to you guys from the, shut up and play the music days. That's when I picked up, and that's when I started hearing you guys. And one of the things that it seemed like that back in the FM, well, at least the 102.7 days, you guys, it's almost like, and I think a lot of fans probably felt this, that, maybe some of the fun went out of it for you guys. Like when you got to Sirius, yes, you still had fun, but I kind of almost picked up like always there was a little tension. Did it get worse when you went to Sirius?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was really weird. The time that we had off, which was about 2 years between NEW and satellite radio, we were being paid by Infinity Broadcasting. We never missed a check because they didn't want us going to Clear Channel. They paid us to keep us from working for the competing company, but wouldn't let us on the air. It's a pay or play contract that we had. So we were making money hand over fist, but we weren't able to do radio together. I think during those 2 years, a lot changed in our lives, and it made we weren't as close. No one's really to blame for that. It's whatever it is. When we came back, again, we were very excited to be back and doing radio, but that uphill battle also made it stressful. We weren't getting the attention as quickly as we wanted it. Satellite radio was in its infancy. I think when we first came on, they had 1 million subscribers or something like that. It was so the max. If everyone that subscribed listened to you, it was 1 million people, and we were doing that on FM radio every quarter hour. So I think that had something to do with it. But then again, this weird superiority thing and resentment started coming into play, and the holding things over people's heads. I don't know. And the only thing I can base it off of is what I've seen, how I have seen him deal with with coworkers over the years and how coworkers have dealt with them after they're not working anymore. It's a very difficult situation. There are some people that can be sat down and talked to, and you could talk things out. With Opie, and it's not just me, I feel that people that want to talk to him and settle things and straighten things out are constantly having to just appease him. That isn't a discussion. That's him getting appeased and you hating yourself, and then you go off and smiles and we do the show again. But it builds up resentment over time. So, yeah, that's about all I could give you on that.
It's kind of really a shame that like the 1027 thing ended the way it did. I would have liked it to play out longer, because part of the beauty and a place where you really shined was the crafting and the intelligence around what you can kind of say but not really. That was always, right. I thought that was fantastic. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, the uncensored stuff is great, but it forced everything in a little different direction.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but here's another part of it. Believe it or not, the FCC was very hands-on as far as certain content went, and that was bad words, graphic sexual content, things like that. We could deal with that. That was something that we were able to deal with and skirt the issue creatively and make it fun and interesting. Later on, after we had been fired from NEW, it became more political correctness and subject matter that you couldn't cover, things that offended people. So I don't know where we would have ended up. It's easy to not say shit, piss, fuck, cunt, cocksucker, motherfucker, tits on the air and not get in trouble for cursing. It's very difficult to not get in trouble for just voicing an opinion these days that might be deemed sexist or racist or misogynistic. So you're put in a position where you could adhere to the rules, the physical FM radio rules that the FCC has in place, yet still get fired for a word or an offensive comment or topic or thing. So I don't know how far we'd have been able to push it on FM radio in this climate without getting the boot. It might have come anyway. There might have been no avoiding it, unless we had changed the show completely into kind of a morning zooey, guest-intensive, milk toasty, drab, boring, fucking backslap fest.
Yep. Well, I got to tell you, I've always enjoyed both of you guys. Probably like a lot of fans.
I have too.
Probably enjoyed you guys together more. I do still kind of listen to both, more to you than Sirius. Love Jimmy. I mean,
who doesn't?
I don't know.
Little imp.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Wonderful boy.
Whole thing just kind of sucks. But,
it does suck. Believe me, I'm not saying it doesn't suck. And it was the sum of the parts greater than the sum of the parts. The O&A show. It just was an amazing vehicle for everybody, and that's why it became popular. You don't just become popular because you're there, because you're on. Some people are on and they suck, and some people are on and they're great. And I think we as a show were great, with all of our fucking foibles and personality conflicts and you know, mental fucking problems. But you know, things happen and things do end. I didn't see it ending this way. But I would have liked to have seen a little more effort in keeping it going by the
well, you just happened, and it just happened again. Jeremy Clarkson, same thing. You know, there's now granted he hit somebody, but it's a moving target, the political correctness, what you could do. You know, I mean, it's just it's tough. But look, I wish you the best.
Thank you,
I subscribe, I listen. Thanks, man.
Thank you. And
all right.
Take it easy. Thanks for the call. Very nice. Look at that. Let me see. What hey, Nick from the wonderful North American city of Toronto. Hi.
Yeah, this awful cold country. I'm just calling. I'm wondering what you think Opie might want to say off air that he can't say on air. You know, any speculations towards that?
Well, I don't know, but as I had speculated earlier, I think it comes down to there are certain things, and again, these are some of the personality things that I had talked about, that he can do when it's just me and him in a room talking, that he can't do in front of all of the fans. It's like, I don't want to deal with a passive aggressive kind of a thing. You heard it during the great grape argument back on the O&A show when we were at XM. The great grape argument. You might remember that.
Looks.
I was eating grapes. This upset Mr. Hughes. We had an argument. And that the way he dealt with that argument is very indicative of how he deals with a serious discussion like that. And I really don't like it and don't want any part of it.
So is it just the passive aggressive stuff, or is it more maybe he wants to say, hey, it's done for good, and he doesn't want to do that on air?
Maybe that's the case too. Weirdly enough, he should do that on the air. He should say he doesn't want it on the air. Again, at least the fucking listeners kind of deserve it. And I'm not saying it's like our entire life should be on the air like some kind of fucking reality show. But when all is said and done with the O&A show, after all this supposed honesty that the show embraced over the years, and how we would dissect other radio duos' breakups and things like that, why wouldn't we put that final chapter out there on the air? And again, I'm not looking at it so people, hey, Anthony, it's just for your show. I'll do it on his show. I'll do it on goddamn Scott's show. Hey, I got Opie and Anthony in the studio. They're going to be talking about each other. Oh, my God, I got a tree on my, I'll do it anywhere on anyone's show. I don't think with the way this show was over all those years that the final little chit chat should be in a private, closed off fucking room where it's not open, because you do tend to be more honest if people are watching. And I'd
agree with that for sure.
Yeah, and people that know us for so long, they know our personalities. People that have been listening since the NEW days, you're not going to pull a fast one on them. I read through a lot of shit on the internet about the show, especially on Reddit now, and it's astounding how wrong some people have everything. But it's equally as amazing how absolutely perfect others have it. And it's those people that know us through years of the show, it became like some kind of a retarded family member where they can sit there and look at it and know exactly what is being said, what's being felt by everyone involved, how they're going to react. They remember what was said fucking 10 years ago and pull it up. It's just how it is. Some people nail it, and it's quite entertaining to read, by the way.
I see. Well, I'm just wondering, because I run my own little podcast myself, right? And we try to be as honest as possible with each other, and it's fucking brutal. We basically we want to be junior O&A because we just love you guys that much, right? My question would wind up being is, if I'm the Opie in the situation, which it honestly looks like it's going that way, how would I avoid being that?
How would you avoid getting into this situation on your podcast?
Well, no, what I mean is I don't want to be the Opie kind of guy. So from your point of view, how would you, keep from becoming that? How to be more honest about that kind of thing?
Look, I'm obviously not the person that should be assessing anyone's mental health. I have my own issues that, they're my own issues. But what I've seen affect people over the years has been a lack of understanding of other people's feelings, a lack of understanding of your own image in other people's eyes. It's sometimes very hard to try to imagine how people see you. I believe over the years I've been respected more than I haven't been by people that I've worked with. Again, I have my faults, but I really try to make people happy and keep the misery to an absolute minimum. I think self-awareness, be aware of what you're doing to other people, and consequence. Not always. You don't have to always take the other person's side, especially if you have a viable argument. But don't force people to capitulate based on holding anything else over their head or being this pseudo superior to them, because it only breeds resentment by everyone over the years. So good luck with that.
I like that answer. You think I could plug my shitty own little podcast?
Do it up, my friend.
It's withapologies.net. I hope everybody checked it out.
Oh, I thought this was my brother.
No.
I'm kidding. I love Joe. He's going to be on this very program Thursday with my sister. We're doing a sibling show. There's going to be a lot of pictures and videos from our past, and we're going to talk about Uncle Joe and the great ice cream sandwich, you bummers, and when my brother dressed my sister up as the woman from Psycho, as Norman Bates as a woman from Psycho, and when I was taking a shower and ripped the curtain open and started trying to stab me, and I almost died. Believe me, a lot of fun stories with my brother Joe and sister Dawn this Thursday on this show. So we're looking forward to that. Thanks for the call, man.
Thank you. Talk to you.
Yes.
Bye.
Talk to you. Talk to you. A lot of people also wanted to hear about the Bennington thing, Keith. Of course, you posted a amazing graphic that would make an amazing shirt.
Can I run with it for a couple minutes?
Please run with it. I will sip water and enjoy the Anthony Cumia show.
All right. So back when you would go through these negotiations and you would come home and we would bullshit and stuff like that, one of the things we always talked about was if Opie wasn't signing again and Fez was going in the direction he was going, that the Ron and Anthony show would be something everybody would want to listen to. It would be huge. And those opportunities never arose. Once you started doing this, and we started hearing rumors about Fez, about that he might not continue working, we were out to dinner one night. It was me, Anthony, Bob Eatman, and a couple other people, and I was sitting next to Bob, and we were discussing, the future of this show, things that were going to happen. And I said, well, the thing everyone really would love to hear is the Ron and Anthony show. And he sat there, his mouth was open. I wasn't sure if he had a stroke or if he needed the Heimlich maneuver, but he looked at me and he said, "That's the greatest idea I've ever heard." Okay. After dinner, we get in the truck and I said to Anthony, how the fuck has this man never thought of this? If this is the greatest idea, because he represents everybody.
Yeah.
That was December. January, we went out to California. We went over to visit Bob at his house. We were sitting in the living room, and Bob said, "I've got this great idea, the Ron and Anthony show." And I was like, looked at Anthony, and I was like,
motherfucker.
Where the fuck did that come from? Fast forward another 2 months. This is about a month and a half ago. Mm-hmm. On a whim, I text Mr. B. And I
what kind of phone is that, a whim? I have an iPhone.
Yeah, it was.
What did you use? The whim? Who puts out the whim? Thank you. It's that kind of comedy that just...
It is that kind of comedy.
Keeps the...
And I texted him and basically said, about Fez retiring and, he should look into coming over with us.
Yeah.
I didn't hear from him for a couple hours, and then he sent me a text and he just wrote "Serious," not the company. "Serious" with a question mark. And I looked at my phone and I says, "Holy fuck." And I said, "Do you have a couple minutes to talk?" So Ron and I got on the phone and I pitched him, and we talked for about 10 minutes, and he was very interested in it. And we then set up, I hung up with him. I called Anthony. I said, "Holy fuck, you're not going to believe this. Ron has an interest in working with us." So we set up a dinner. Anthony, Ron, and myself, we went out to dinner. And that was the big rat story that we kind of joked about, because we went to Spark Steakhouse and had the huge union rat outside. We were a little late, and Ronnie's like, what is this, union busting?
The union guys were a little mad that we were going in there.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you doing? Shut up.
Yeah. So we had great meal with him.
Oh yeah, left our
We
asses up,
spent
too.
a lot of time talking with
Great.
Ron, and after we left there, we kind of weren't sure, but we sat with him. We we were sitting there, and we kind of talked, and
Yeah.
on the way home, and a couple of days later, he reached out again and said, you guys got me really thinking, and this is a good possibility. So Ron and I then went to lunch one day, and we sat and we talked. And let me tell you something: when you sit with Ron Bennington and you talk with him, and we sat for about 2 hours, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
And the man stares through you. It's like he doesn't look away the whole time he's talking to you, and you're sitting with greatness because
He's a pro, man.
he is
He's the best out there.
unbelievable.
Hey, Fada, he's the best out there.
Yeah. So again, we talked about things, and there were legitimate concerns, like anybody else that had concerns regarding leaving there, coming here, how much crossover there was, how many people were already here.
Yep.
Continuing to have a presence on Sirius.
Yep.
And there were a lot of different things that he had concerns about. So we talked them out, and one of the things I suggested was, well, you know what? What if you were able to still do like Ron Bennington interviews over there and work with us? And he was like, wow, it's a great idea.
Yeah.
And again, I spoke with Anthony. We talked. We ended up going out to lunch again. I ended up going out to lunch with Ronnie and with myself again.
A lot of lunches.
Yeah.
There were a lot of lunches.
You want to talk about a man who can eat? God damn, he got us for quite a bit of food. But anyway, so to kind of bring it home, as we were talking this whole process out, and he had an interest, and then it came to the point where I was to go to Bob to speak about this. And listen, I apologize to Bob, but we kind of kept it from him for a little bit because it was something we weren't sure we were going with.
It's like when Mike kept something from fucking the consigliere there.
There you go. But
sorry, Tom.
This whole time behind the scenes, I had to put everything on hold with this show. I had to put the app on hold. I had to put the website on hold. Live events. I had to put. You see the graphic that was for T-shirts. I had a dozen different graphics.
I want that T-shirt anyway.
It's amazing,
regardless of how we do involve Ronnie in this on this platform and with this show. That is a kick-ass shirt.
Yeah, and all these things were in anticipation of Ron possibly coming over here.
Yeah.
So when I spoke with Bob and talked to him about it, and he spoke with Ron, and they spoke with Anthony, and then look, I don't know how he negotiates, what he does. He went to Sirius. I guess the way I kind of perceived it was he was going to go with the Ron Bennington interviews thing, but I think that he went more in the direction of the actual
show,
Bennington show, which I think is that. Look, we haven't heard from them in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
About this in particular. So that's where we assume it's going. Up until last week, I mean, I spoke with Ronnie on Thursday night, and Friday was the deadline for him to sign the Sirius deal. And we talked a little bit and about what we could do to make this happen.
Yeah.
And he wanted a presence on both, and I understand that. And I understand he was concerned with having, again, with how many people were already here that were crossover fans between Ron and Anthony.
Yeah, yeah.
And Friday, after some of the comments that were made on the O&J show in the morning had something to do with it about me tweeting out that picture. But at the same time, I knew that was my last shot, our last shot at possibly showing him how much there was.
Yeah, the support that's out there for this the Ron and Anthony show would have.
And everybody went fucking crazy.
Yeah. People loved the idea. And there is a thought process here that we will do something.
Oh yeah, he still wants to be involved, and he has amazing ideas, especially for the video platform portion of our program.
And I do like the idea of, let's say, like every Friday is the Ron and Anthony show. If he can only be there, and it's just one idea. Let's say, the 4 days a week, like I'm doing here, it still remains the Anthony Cumia show. But when we move the studio in the city, how about a Ron and Anthony show that we do on a Friday? I think that would be kind of cool, something like that. But it's just, there's a lot of other scenarios that we can mull over to get Ronnie involved in this, and it would be great. It would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, and that was Friday was D-Day for us to actually have his name on the marquee full time, and that's why I tweeted that picture out. I know a lot of people were freaked out. They were like, "Holy fuck, that's amazing!" And some people were upset and said, "Oh, he's fucking with us." But
yeah, no, it's not a fucking with thing. We just had, Keith is very good with getting those ducks in order beforehand. You don't go scrambling once something happens to get all the pieces together. Keith likes laying everything out, having everything ready so that when you go, you're a go. And everything, merch-wise and website and app and everything had all been prepared like this. So we're still working on it, and we'll see what happens when we move into the city as far as getting Ron actually on board. I do like the idea of a maybe 1 day a week show that features Ron and Anthony, and we, do a Friday show, something like that. So it's still in the works. Don't sweat it. We're still yapping. I love Ronnie. I love Fez. I wish him only the best. It's so funny when people go, "Oh, I think this is a work." It's never a work. By the way, when you look at things, like 1 out of 100 times something happens on a radio show, and especially with O&A or Ron and Fez, it was never a work. Everything they talked about is what was real. Remember Dave getting married? Oh, fuck that, it's a work. Dave's having a kid. Oh, it's a work. Dave left. It's a work. Fez he left. He's not on the Ron and Fez show. There is no Ron and Fez show anymore. Ronnie has something the guy will excel in radio his entire life. He's that fucking good. And I'd love to have him on board. And we'll see what happens when we get our studio in the city and put something together with him. But Ronnie is he's the greatest. Hey, how are you going to say anything bad about Bennington? So that's pretty much where that is and was. And the app is still being worked on. Any more news on that? Because people are clamoring.
Yeah, listen, everything is full steam ahead now. And like I said, the only reason that we kind of had to slow things up because there was work orders that needed to be changed.
Yeah, we might have had to change a few name things around and graphics and
there was a lot involved in that. So we put a lot of things on hold in order to facilitate Ron coming aboard. And look, it was a letdown. I mean, as far as the whole picture,
the whole package,
right.
The whole picture. Definitely.
But he definitely wants to be a part of it, and I think we may, if we're lucky, see him this week.
Yeah, we'll get something. Very cool. Who's this? Jerry.
Tony, how you doing, pal?
Tony. All right. What's up?
All right, I wanted to quick bring up to you. I called into shortly after you were fired. I called into the Opie and Jim show, and I brought up to Opie. I felt like the show was kind of off since you were gone. Naturally, there's a growing process there.
Sure.
And I called in and I was like, "Hey, Opie, I want to just give you like some honest criticism, some things that I didn't think were doing very well with the show." He absolutely imploded when I called.
Anytime those calls would come in when I was there, if there was some kind of issue, I'd go like this. I'd be like,
it was unbelievable.
Scary. Yeah.
And what was tough was it two parts. One, I was like, okay, well, he kept on calling me a hater. I'm really not. I don't subscribe to your show.
Do you hate?
I don't. And that's what's weird. Like, he kind of pissed me off because I was literally calling in just kind of as a guy like, hey, there's something lacking here, and I think you're bringing down the show in some aspects. Obviously, that's hard to hear. No one wants to hear that.
Sometimes sometimes he's his own worst enemy when it comes to how he handles like the internet and people, and it I don't know why, but it comes off as a holier than thou attitude sometimes. Like you could have some criticism and he'll just be like, you know what, fuck you, dude. I've been doing this for so long, and it never garners sympathy. It always garners resentment and this, well, fuck you kind of a thing. There's a way to talk and be diplomatic and have some type of tete-a-tete, as they say. But it would always come off as, fuck you, what do you know? I'm here, I'm rich, we rule. And it's like, that's not, I would cringe sometimes when he'd be lacing into somebody, and I'm like, oh, this is, don't talk like that.
It was brutal because the one thing he threw the money line at me, like you said, and number two, he was like, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. I'm like, well, listen, I've been fucking girls since I was 18. I'm not a porn star. Like, he got himself in a very fortunate situation. He was put in a spot where he can find talent.
We all were put, by the way, in a very, very an amazing place where everything was working at the right time. I'm not just saying it was me and Opie and then Jimmy, and that would have been effective and we would have been great no matter what. Everything had to work out. There's a delicate balance of timing, the humor of the day, the administration that was in the fucking White House at the time. Like, all of these things came into play to make us a popular show. And you can't take any one of them for granted. And I never did. But there was always this, like, you got to be humble about it. You can't just get on and start lambasting somebody about how great you are and look where I am and look where you are. And it just comes off when the contribution has been so vast by so many people and circumstances. You can't just call someone out that you are in this place. Count your blessings, consider yourself lucky, and be a little more humble.
I agree. And I'll tell you what, with Opie and where his positions, I'll tell you what, he's probably one of the best people in terms of finding talent out there. The people he brought to the forefront, from the comedy standpoint to bringing you, to bringing Jimmy, all the guys out there with podcasts now.
Yep.
I don't know fully how involved Opie was, but he knocked it out of the park with them. He's a PD with a microphone, and he's terrible with the microphone in his hand. Like,
there is a PD mentality there, and if there's one thing I learned doing radio, it's that I hate PDs. And they usually are detrimental to what you want to do creatively on the air. But there's a balance there. They're there for a reason, I guess. But don't try to be the PD when you're on air, because, again, that building of resentment over the course of the years by trying to be the boss, trying to be the leader in that. And just, I think very quickly after just a few short years, that whole I've been doing this for this many years thing lost any of its validity. I think me and James Norden learned very quickly what the business was about and how to do radio. So the tenure that you have became inconsequential at that point, but it was still being held over everybody's head. So, yeah,
I hear you. Do you have any thoughts on Bam Margera?
I'm not getting into that whole personal thing.
I don't blame you.
You guys on Reddit have run with it. Have a field day with it. Let me see. Hey, who's this? I can't read that. From AC?
Hello, Anthony.
What's up?
This is Nucky Thompson from Atlantic City. How are you?
Nucky, how you doing?
I'm doing splendid. How are you?
Pretty good. I've noticed from seeing how you handle certain personal conflicts. Is that a better way to do it? How you usually dealt with conflicts?
Well, perhaps Opie needs a good talking to, if you don't mind me saying so.
Really? From who would you recommend? Maybe Chalky White?
Well, Jimmy Darmody.
Jimmy Darmody, yeah. Okay, I could see that happening. That would be pretty cool. They could maybe discuss things.
Well, when he tried to prevent me from doing my duty, I corrected him.
Wow, you are really crossing over here, Nucky. It's Nucky Thompson in The Shining. Very good, you ghoul. We'll probably be down there. I think July 10th, Jimmy Norton is going to be at the Borgata, and I want to go down there and see Jimmy and maybe play some cards.
You should absolutely come down.
All right. I'll let you know. You could meet up at the casino, and we'll play a few hands.
Well, I had a question as well, Anthony.
Oh, certainly.
I wanted to know, were there any serious talks about getting Jimmy on the show prior to them re-signing with Sirius XM?
Oh, that's a very good question. Nucky, I'm going to let you hang up your old-timey telephone, that one where you held something to your ear and talked into that, and you could listen on the Victrola for what I'm going to say. Thank you, though, Nucky, from checking in from Atlantic City. I always enjoy Nucky Thompson. I think the first time I addressed the Jimmy Norton issue, people were a little confused. I don't think I was clear enough. When I said I wanted Jimmy for the show and I was trying to hire Jimmy for the show, that was before they re-signed and before I knew they were going to re-sign. I never tried to wrangle Jimmy away from Opie as far as doing the show. And Jimmy's his own person. He'll do whatever he feels is necessary for his own career and life and whatnot. He was under contract, so him leaving immediately wasn't in the cards. But yeah, I would have loved to have had Jimmy, and I did make some motions. But once I found out he was going to sign with Opie, I wasn't trying to outbid to get him or anything like that. I think a lot of people had the misconception that I was trying to, pull some wrangling and steal Jimmy from Opie. But again, he's his own person. He makes his own decisions. But once I knew that they were going to continue, I wasn't going to try to, get that going. Would I take Jimmy Norton in the future if there is a departure from the O&J show? Hell yes. In a second. I would adore having Jimmy here. I call the Ron Bennington, Jim Norton, Anthony Cumia thing the holy trinity of radio. It would be one of the most amazing things on any broadcast medium. So you never know. Never know what's going to happen. We keep in constant communication. I love James Norton. I think he's a very talented guy. He's a sweetheart, and wish him only the best. And I would love for the best to be him working here on this very platform. So I hope that answered your question, Nucky. Love that guy. Do you think this should have oh, wait, it should? Or what? Paul? Philly?
Hey, how you doing?
Pretty good. What's up?
Swell. I was wondering if, continuing what Nucky just said, lovely on your air, you talking this way on this episode today, do you think this is going to stop people from coming on your show down the road?
I don't think so. I don't think I'm doing anything here except kind of giving my view of what the O&A show was, a little more behind the scenes than we have said in the past. I don't think this is a big surprise to a lot of people. I think a lot of people had. I think they had an inkling that something was going on over the course of the years. This is my side of it, my gaze into what happened. I'm sure Opie's side would be different, and he has the ability and the broadcast medium to give his side of it if he wants to. That's fine too, but I don't think this will harm anything. I kind of like airing this. It needs to be put out there because there's so much speculation going on as far as what we're thinking, what we're doing, what the future has in store, that it's kind of nice to just air it out and move on and get on with other things. So I didn't want to have the elephant in the room, as they say, when I'm trying to do a show tomorrow or the next day, or Larry King is going to be Skyping in on Wednesday. I need to have this on my shoulders when I want to talk to Larry about how hilariously funny him using Oculus Rift was. Of course.
Well,
that's hilarious.
Listening to you ramble, I almost lost what I was trying to say.
Well, thanks for the call, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. Toodles.
There he goes. Toodles, he said, I think he said toodles. Yeah, well, I can't. Can you? Okay, that's a good question. Why end on a downer like that? Anthony from Denver, Colorado. Did you see Jimmy in Denver over the weekend, or?
Fuck yeah, I actually paid for 2 shows on Friday.
Yeah, he's fucking hilarious, right?
Yeah, it was badass.
He puts on a great show. He said Denver was really cool. Like the people were awesome.
Yeah, there was like one guy I think that got kicked out during the first show, and then I sat next to this insanely drunk couple that tried to start a fight with the waitress and manager towards the end.
It's that thin air up there, I think. It's that thin air.
Yeah.
What's your question there, Anthony?
Well, I always kind of think that, since it is a partnership and you guys did all those years, so, there's a lot of bad stuff or not necessarily bad stuff, but I kind of want to know, like, can you think of any kind of stories or anything where you have like a really good memory of OP? Like anything?
No, of course. Oh my God! Early on, especially when we were in Massachusetts at WAAF, those even though they weren't the most lucrative years of the career, and I was very nervous with what I was doing because it was brand new, and that might have been why it was so fun and exciting. But it was fun and exciting, and it was all like good times. Both of us knew we were building something. We knew we had something very cool that had the possibility of getting much bigger, and it did. But those little club gigs that we used to do, like Club Cadillac, and going to Worcester and fucking shows at the Worcester Centrum, and just building a fan base, taking the rock bus out to the parking lot at like the Rage Against the Machine shows, like all of those things are great, happy memories of doing that show. And those are impossible to recapture. But I look back fondly at them and think they were some of the best times ever in my career, even though I said not the most lucrative. I wasn't making much more than I was making when I was in construction, but I was having a damn good time. We were building something together, and I think we both were a little more grounded back then. We weren't taking anything for granted. We knew we had our work cut out for us to make a name for ourselves, and that's how we conducted the show and business accordingly. Later on, and probably that popularity and the money and everything else, you start taking things for granted. You start getting lazy, slipping up a little bit, and really thinking who you are sometimes, and that needs to be checked ASAP, or you're going to cause some fucking problems. So no, there were amazing, great times. I remember instances, not just like ideas of when we would hang out. And it was always just laughing our asses off, having fun. Jay from Framingham was a great friend of ours, and we kind of all just hooked up, and we'd go to a bar and just laugh our asses off, out to dinner, Little Italy over there, the North End in Boston, and nice. Just all those things. And it was a great time, and I did wind up missing those after a while. But again, like any relationship, those first few months or years, depending on what the relationship is always going to be the best, and you're going to remember the great times, and then she's going to yell at you because you didn't take the fucking garbage out. So thanks for the call, bro.
Thank you very much, man.
Thank you, man.
Good show.
There it is. That's about it, I would gather. I would like to talk to you, though, about FanDuel. Can I do that? I think I can. Hang in there, people. Major League Baseball season. It starts, today? I think they're playing today.
Correct.
This is the year that the Cubs will win the World Series, based on Back to the Future 2. So maybe you could go to FanDuel.com and make that work for you. Fantasy football. What? Fantasy baseball. You owe it to yourself to check out FanDuel.com. FanDuel, changing the way people play fantasy baseball right now, is your chance to win just as the season kicks off for just as low as $1. You sign up now at FanDuel.com, and they're the leader in one-day fantasy baseball for real money with immediate cash payouts. Immediately. With FanDuel, you don't need to play all season long. No. You play today, you play tonight, you win tonight. No long-term commitments. No getting stuck with players you don't want. With FanDuel, you pick brand new team every day if you want to. You could play for just one day, the whole season, whatever. It's up to you. Just sign up right now, though. That's what you got to do. Sign up, FanDuel.com. Even if you're just watching a game at home, why not make it a little more interesting, right? By playing FanDuel while you're watching and trying to win some bucks. Last week, I told you about Joe Watson. Who's this Joe Watson guy? Apparently, he won over $30,000. And here's another guy who's loving FanDuel, Eric Hoffner. Eric Hoffner from California. He turned a $125 deposit into $62,000. Now he can buy all the water he wants out there in California. You bunch of thirsty bastards. FanDuel.com. Think you got what it takes? Sign up now. Absolutely. FanDuel paying out over $2.5 million every ding-dong day. But in order to win, oh boy, you got to sign up right now. FanDuel.com. Click on the microphone right in the upper right-hand corner. Use the code Anthony. That's my name. There's that microphone. Look, you finally get to see it. FanDuel, it's going to match up to $200 when you sign on. $200 deposit. Just sign up, playing fantasy baseball. But the offer is only good for the first 50 people who sign up using the code Anthony. Do that. FanDuel.com, code Anthony. Our own Bobo is our guinea pig as far as FanDuel goes. We're going to see if that mental case can actually make a few bucks, turn a few bucks on FanDuel.com.
And they're going to be starting up Anthony Cumia Show League, so you can play with Bobo.
I like it. So you can play with Bobo. That's nice. Mm-hmm. We wanted to get to mail today, but that ain't going to happen. We'll do that. We also have our most offensive song contest. We have a winner. We have the prizes,
Yes,
but can we announce that tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow we also have Peyton Sinclair. Rat picture?
Sexy. Oh, boy. A picture of a girl. For you people just fucking sapping off the freebie, that's Rat, and he's incapable of punching up a picture of a girl very quickly. We think he's a mo. Don't try to order pizza in Indiana, you mo. But, all right. Ooh, pardon me. Look at her. She's coming in tomorrow?
Yeah, with Ralph Sutton, who does the Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll show with
yes.
Big J. Okerson.
Absolutely.
There tomorrow.
That'll be fun.
Larry King is Skype on Wednesday.
And then the sibling show on Thursday. I'm psyched about this. My brother Joe and my sister Dawnie going to be coming in. We're going to sit at the table out there and run through some memories of the Cumias when we were growing up. It should be a lot of fun. They're very cool. My bro insists to hang out with. Hope you had a nice Easter. I did. Went over Aunt Fran and Uncle Tony's. Had a great time. Thank you to them. And I want to talk about, maybe we'll get into this tomorrow, that Scientology documentary that's on HBO.
I watched that too.
Holy fuck, that's good. If you get a chance to see it, see it. Mental patience. And the people that came out of it and are like, I can't believe I was doing that. It was like they were brainwashed.
Yeah, that
it's
was
amazing.
a good one.
Very cool. What is it called? Clear or
Going Clear?
Going Clear, yeah. Going Clear, like fucking clear stuff out of my pecker. Fuck yeah. All right, Chip. Miss Jimmy doing Chip.
Yeah.
It's always
the
fun.
number one question that didn't get answered that I wanted answered today was, how come you didn't fight for Garrett when you guys got over to Sirius? You let him rot there at
fucking guy. Because I was making my bones. I was making my bones when you were still banging cheerleaders. No, yeah, you went. Wait. Did you get fired the same day, or did you get to hang out for a while?
No,
there?
I got fired.
You got blown out. Sex for Sam. Everybody else.
I got like 6 months' pay or something.
Nice. What'd you do?
Fucking sat at home and stressed out, and eventually had to go to the emergency room because I was like running out of unemployment. No job was coming around, and no one was like. I hung out with you and Melinda a bunch, but
yeah. Yeah, we went out a few times, Frenchie's restaurant and shit like that every so often.
Yeah, but everyone else I would call and they'd be like, oh, yeah, no, they brought you up, but we don't know. And then all of a sudden I heard, there's this guy, Sex Bagel, that they're talking to in Florida. And then after I heard that name, I was never talking.
You got nagled. But you got fucking nagled.
I got a job at Sirius a month before, so everyone was like, oh, he's got a job.
Yeah, you ended up. It was so weird because I remember when we got the job, and I walked in there, it's like, the fuck is Garrett doing here? Okay. You're working with were you with Jay Thomas right from the get-go?
No, it's Alex Bennett and Lynn Samuels.
Alex Bennett. Lynn Samuels. Oh, God. How is that? Hey, Garrett. That fuck voice of hers. Holy shit. Let's just shit on everyone today. Why don't we? Well, I love having Garrett here. For you that don't know and that are enjoying the free Easter/Passover broadcast of the Anthony Cumia Show today, yes, we picked up Garrett. He is an employee of this very program. Rat, who we have right here, is the director of the show. It has a visual element, so when you see it screw up, it was Rat. And then Keith the cop, because the progression of NYPD lieutenant to show producer is smooth as silk.
Oh, you bet.
It's what they all do. They all go into entertainment. I don't know.
And listen, thank you. I want to say thank you to everybody that did come today.
Yes.
We crashed the server.
Yeah.
So we're on live stream. Rat got that up and running where it's on live stream.
Yep.
So everybody's been watching, but it's not a normal occurrence. But the numbers that we put up today were far exceeded what we expected.
Very huge. And we are actually going to another
the new website. Everything is
everything.
In May.
We're all moving. It's all creeping up over here. And I do mean creep. Just look at it. I'm a creep.
We're going to hit the pool now?
I wish. It's fucking freezing.
It's so
I
cold.
opened the pool and I'm having a problem with one of the heaters.
I
one
put
of my
hand
heaters.
in before.
See? It's ridiculously freezing cold. No.
It's like it's April or something.
Yeah. You know what was amazing? Remember Ray Lynn? You remember the Canadian girl, Ray Lynn?
Yeah.
They used to come over and shit. She would hang out. She'd come down and like stay for like 2 months. She's fucking great. And the pool, she's Canadian from Halifax. The pool that fucking cold, she'd jump in. She would jump in and just be like, no, it's fucking refreshing. You know, just smoke more pot and shit like that. I couldn't imagine doing that and not just dying.
Yeah.
Just dying in that pool. So, we're going to, of course, more hijinks and shenanigans by the pool. We have a much better system worked out now. And we'll see how Rat handles the outdoor broadcast once the weather gets a little nicer. But I'm psyched about that. We're going to be doing that. Joe Curry, are you doing anything in the next day or two that you want to plug?
I most certainly am. Davin's Den tomorrow, 6:30 Eastern Standard. Go to davinsden.com and click listen live. And God knows you guys won't do the live read tomorrow. No, I ask and leave copies. Might as well let Beavis pee on it. But nonetheless,
here it is.
There it is. It's fun to pretend. Let's see how we do tomorrow.
It happens. And for those of you,
thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, happy birthday, Joe. Fuck yeah, another one, huh? Jesus Christ. And for those of you watching that aren't subscribing yet, what the fuck are you waiting for? This is just the new. It's the new hotness, the new coolness. Subscribe to the show. Go to anthonycumia.com and check that out. And for all of you subscribers, thank you. Appreciate it. Hope we cleared up a few things. I'm sure nothing will hit Reddit or any of the other sites about what was spoken here
Over
today.
1,300 comments. On
Keep
the
it all.
listening
Let's
thread.
keep it all on the DL. Can we, people? Can we? And we'll return tomorrow on this very whatever it is, internet. Simsalabim, thank you very much. Hasta mañana.